Hello students, today we are going to continue our data model. So as we have discussed earlier importance of data model, and in a types of data model we have discussed hierarchical model, network model, and today we are going to discuss the relational model. So today we are going to discuss the relational model. It is introduced by E.F. Codd in 1970s. The relational model foundation is a mathematical concept known as the relation. Means this model is based on your relation, and relation concepts work similar like in mathematics. A relation is also called a table as a matrix composed of the intersecting rows and columns. Means there is a table which known as the relation in this model. These tables represent both data and relationship amongst the data. Each row in a relation is called a tuple and represents an instance of that entity. Every relation or every table have a multiple rows, and each row in this relation is called as the tuple. And that tuple having some information, and that information is called as the instance of that entity. Entity means a table name, you can say. Each column represents an attribute. Each column in a table known as the attribute, and each attribute describes the property or property of your entity. The relational data model is implemented through relational database management system. That's why it is called as the RDBMS. In this figure, you can see there is a student relation. This is student course relation. This is course relation. This is teacher relation. This is teacher course relation. Okay. And these are the attributes. Okay, these are called as the instance or rows or tuples of particular relation. Clear? So in a relational model corresponding to the network model of records, course, teachers, and students. So this figure looks like similar, but in this figure corresponding, you have a table where relation, and these are as the attributes. Means student table name, course table name, teacher table name, teacher course table, and student course table. And these are the attributes. Okay. So the advantages of the relational model is the structural independence. This, as we saw in a previous network model, where there is an absence of structural independence. But in a relational model, this is the advantage of relational model, that this is supports to the structural independence. Means in a network model, it is very hard to modify the structure of your database. But if you are implementing a relational model for any database, then you can easily modify the structure of your database. Tabular view improves the conceptual simplicity. Means in a network model, we are representing the database in a graph form, but in a relational model, we are representing our database in a tabular form. In a tabular form, it is very easy to understand. Ad hoc query capability. This is very important feature of this model, which is not in the previous one. Means it supports the ad hoc query capability. Means it supports the SQL structured query language. Means all queries comes from the SQL are supported in the relational model. Okay. So structured query language basically such type of queries which starts from the what, not how. So in a relational model, you can just fire your query in terms of what, and this relational model give you a exact answer. Next one is isolates the end user from the physical level details. जो भी आपके end users होते हैं that are independent from the physical level details. जो आपके physical level की details होती हैं उनसे आपका end user independent है. Next advantage is the improve the implementation and management simplicity. It is very easy to implement and also it is easy to manage. Focus on the logical design. In the relational model, we are focusing on the logical design. Okay. Disadvantages requires hardware and system software overhead. Next, promotes the information problem, that is the information island phenomena. Disadvantages of the relational model. It requires hardware and system software overhead. Next one is your promotes the information problem. There is a lot of problem which signifies the information island phenomenon. Next one is your few relational databases have limits on the length of your fields. So these are the disadvantages of a relational model. Now come to the next one, that is the object-oriented data model. These are the popular RDBMS, means Oracle, SQLite, Microsoft Azure, Hive. These are the important databases which are using the RDBMS. The next one is your object-oriented data model. Complex real-world problems demonstrated a need for a data model that more closely represented the real world. So, object-oriented model represents an entity as a class and its instance as an object. As we have learned earlier, the object-oriented phenomena where there is a concept of class, and there is a concept of objects. A class represents both attributes and have the behavior of an entity. Complex real-world problem demonstrated a need of the It is represented using unified modeling language like UML class diagram. With the help of UML, we can demonstrate the object-oriented data models. It is used to represent data and their relationships. Object-oriented database work well with the object-oriented programming languages such as Delphi, Ruby, Python, JavaScript, Perl, Java, C#, Visual Basics, .NET, C++, Objective-C, and Smalltalk. The advantage of the data-oriented model, capability to handle large number of different data types. It have also a capability to handle the large number of data types. Object-oriented programming with database technology. With the help of object-oriented data model, we introduce the object-oriented features in a database, like inheritance, polymorphism, etc. Semantic content is added. Semantic content added means semantically correct data are easily added in the object-oriented data model. Object-oriented features improve the productivity. As I told earlier, The object-oriented features like polymorphism, inheritance, data abstraction improves the productivity of your databases. The disadvantages of the data object-oriented data model is that difficult to maintain. It is very hard to maintain this data model, and it also not suited for the all applications. So these are the few disadvantages of the object-oriented data model. Next one is your object relational model. Object relational system combines the advantage of modern object-oriented programming language with relational database features. Means object relational data model are combination of relational database plus object-oriented database. Okay, so object relational data model we can pursue like this. Relational database systems are being enhanced by adding an object infrastructure to the database system itself. There is an important example, that is the PostgreSQL are using the object relational data model. The advantage of the object relational data model is it is complex data sets can be saved and retrieved quickly and easily. It is the advantage of this data model. Works well with object-oriented programming language, as known by the name object relational data model. So it is also using the object-oriented programming language features. Disadvantages: object database are not widely adopted. This model is not widely adopted. That's why we have only PostgreSQL for an example. Next one is your high complexity can cause performance problems. Next, high system overhead, slow transactions. So with in this data model, we have a very high system overhead, and if you are adding or deleting some information, it also takes time. So now come to the summary of the data model lecture. In this lecture, we have studied the underlying the structure of the database is the data model. So what is the meaning of data model? We have understand. Next, a collection of conceptual tools for describing the data, like data relationship, data semantics, and data constants. Next, we have learned the object-oriented data model, for example, extends the representation of entities by adding notions of encapsulation methods like functions and object identities. Means object-oriented features we have understand how these features are using in different data models. Next, the object relational data model combines features of the object-oriented data model and the relational data model. Okay, so this is the important point. Thank you.